On this episode of Samp&Chance Wrestling, guys, we're going to take a look at Bad Blood, the show that it was. The 2 hour Raw is finally in the books, the first one in many years. Also, guys, AEW will Ospreay and Ricochet go at it again after a long, long time. All this and so much more on this episode of Samp&Chance. So strap in and thank you for letting us into your year. Hey, everybody, Samp&Chance are back. It's wrestling. How's everyone doing? Mr. Chance, Michael in the house. What's up, brother man?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Yeah, I can't complain. Some first world problems are plaguing me at the present moment, but nothing that we can do about them, right? These are just things, man. I think you come with a certain level of acceptance as you get older,
Exactly. That's a good way to put it.
right? I mean, so just so people know, I'm having some serious car issues here, and the car is a big part of our everyday life here, right? Especially when you have kids and whatnot. So, um, in the past, I'd probably be very bitter, very angry, very pissed off, blame everyone, but there's no one to blame. There's nothing you can do. It was going to happen. These are the facts that we have to live with now, right? I mean, the workmanship and the craftsmanship that goes into these newer vehicles is absolute shit. I'll
Oh
leave it,
yeah, yeah.
right? I mean,
Doesn't matter what model, who makes them. They're just not the same quality as they used to be.
no, like you take off the front fender now, it's full of styrofoam,
Yeah. Isn't that
right?
crazy?
It is what it is. I mean, I get it and I understand it, but I mean, just the way these things work, it is what it is. Look, I got a roof over my head. I got food on my table. I got a warm bed to sleep in, and I got a beautiful family. What more could I ask for? The rest of it is gravy. So
Exactly. Yeah.
we're
Nothing that can't be figured out.
no, nothing that can't be figured out. It's gonna probably, it's gonna take some funds to figure out, but hey, we'll figure it
Oh
out.
yeah.
It is what it is. But hey, man, let's get into it. You know what? This is the best place to be right now. Get your mind out of everything else and just focus on the good things that we love. And we love wrestling, man. Um, so let's talk about it, man. What do we want to do? Let's do Black Blood. Let's just get that one done and done,
Yeah.
and we'll be finished with it. All right. Overall, I thought the show was really fun. I had a good time with it. There were a couple matches there that started kind of slow, but picked up at the end, sort of a deal. But for the most part, the show was decent. One major botch in this show. I don't know if you knew about it or not, but let's get right into it. Drew McIntyre, CM Punk, Hell in the Cell. I know you say he's an old man. I know you say that he can't move,
He
but I
is an
tell
old
you what, man. Yeah, you're right. But in this match, these two guys put on a cracker of a match. I haven't seen that much color in a while. It was real. Drew McIntyre apparently took 16 staples to the head to close that gash. Now, my question to you, man, is this: is the heat between them real or is it fabricated? Like, you know what I mean? Is it like almost a working shoot here?
it's fabricated. I don't think they have any real beef. CM Punk is an old man now. But he put on a great match. He's just trying to come back. CM Punk came back to WWE for one reason: to take that stain away that he got from AEW when he got that bad name. He's always had a bad name, but he was even worse. He came back to kind of right the ship. He put on a
Yeah.
good match. I mean, the one thing I'll say about Bad Blood before I break this match on, it was just so predictable. I think I got every match right besides the Rhea matches. The booking is very, very predictable. It's very boring, but that was a good Hell in the Cell. You can't deny it. They went hard. They bled. Drew stiff. CM Punk was working a little more stiff than usual, and they put on a good match. And it was the best match of the night by far.
Yeah.
I don't think any match compared to it. And t- cap off the both those guys. They put in a good match. I'm glad this feud is finally over. It dragged out, but they ended it on a high note, and it was a heck of a match. I can't say anything bad about it because they went all out.
Yeah, my only concern for these two guys, because we saw on Raw last night, that very brief interaction in passing between CM Punk and Seth Rollins. So we know that's coming down the road here, right? And it kind of works
There's
perfectly.
some real heat there.
There's some really heat there. So I'm really interested to see these matches because that kind of heat reminds me of the heat that Matt Hardy and Edge had when Matt came back after Lita was cheating on him with Edge and everything and what have you. So that was some real
Yeah, and you
heat.
don't blame Matt Hardy. That's a piece of garbage move by Edge.
No, it was a piece of garbage move, but they had some great matches, right? And that shows
Yeah,
that professionalism. Like you can separate your real issues from the business sort of a deal, right? So, I'm looking forward to that feud, but they worked it out perfectly. CM Punk's beaten up. He's going to probably take a few weeks off here. This is going to allow him to deal with Bronson Reed. I'm talking about Seth Rollins. we lead into this and we get into this now because you can't. It's going to have to be a slow build. The crescendo of Seth and CM Punk will be at WrestleMania.
It's just too bad we couldn't see this match 5 years ago because CM Punk's broken down. Seth is a little bit out of shape now, not the same body he used to. So we won't see quite. These guys are not in their primes anymore. It'll
No,
still be a good match. I will
but
say one thing:
yeah,
CM Punk won the match. Like I said, I knew he would. It was pretty obvious to everybody, and I'm glad he won it because he needs to win it because he's only got a few matches left in the bag. So
right.
let him have.
So the question is, what does Drew do now? Where does Drew go from here?
Who
That's
knows
the
what the way
question.
these guys book, man? The way these guys book, anything he
Well,
could be
no, no,
wrestling
no,
Gunther or
no.
Pete
I
Dunne
get
for
it.
all we know.
Well, I mean, we'll talk about that because on the show here as well, they talked about the Crown Rule or Crown Jewel Championship. So what they're basically going to do is have the two champions, both male and female, on both brands, fight each other, and the winner of those will get this new title. Like, I don't think it's anything that they'll defend or anything. It's just kind of like an extra trophy, like they do in boxing, right? They make a
Yeah, it's the Saudis wanted it, so
it's
they
a
gave it.
commemorative belt or whatever, right?
Yeah,
But so you got Gunther going in
which
against
really means nothing. It just like it's just a
no, 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 no.
showpiece.
It's more for them over there, right? I
Yeah,
mean, they love that glitz and that glamour. They love that shininess and the gleaming gold. So I mean, it's more for that audience there. But Gunther against Cody Rhodes is probably going to be happening next, which makes me wonder where does Cody go from here. But I guess now that, well, I guess with the Rock back now, we'll find out what's going to go on with all that stuff.
yeah,
And after Bad Blood, we had Cody getting attacked by Kevin Owens. So, I mean, there's a couple avenues and a couple lanes that he can go down. So, yeah, but yeah, Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley. I mean, this was a fun match. I thought it was pretty good. There was a major botch at the end, though. Did you notice it?
I didn't notice it, and I didn't really watch that match too thoroughly.
Okay, so basically, what happened was, they're going back and forth. Rhea had her moments, the balance balanced on either side, in my opinion. But I guess Dom finally opened up the cage, but he was chained inside because he's afraid of heights. So as he was trying to get out, he ended up getting dangled, like he was
Yeah,
dangling
yeah, yeah. I see
the
that.
cage,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. That's what.
So
Yeah,
Rhea comes out and asks the referee for a little time so he can whack her around. Now, technically, he should have been counting 10. So, I mean, that's one point of contention. Like, what's the referee doing? Why is he bending the rules in this type of a match
mm-hmm.
sort of a deal? But I get it, whatever. So she goes out there, starts whacking him. Now, here's what's was supposed to happen. Raquel Rodriguez, someone we both didn't anticipate showing up on the show, is back in action. She's back from her skin condition that she was dealing with, so she's back in full flow. But she's completely, in my opinion, she looks like Diesel, the female Diesel to the female Shawn Michaels. And I'm not saying they're the same people,
Yeah,
but
I know what you mean.
you know
Yeah,
what I mean? That's the kind of role that she's playing. I don't know if she's taken a step back in her development by doing this role, but we'll see how it plays out because I mean it was very evident that's the kind of role that she's playing on Raw, right? When we saw
yeah,
that. So, anyways, what happened was if she came and she took Rhea, attacked her from behind, and threw her in the ring and they rang the bell. They were not supposed to ring the bell. She was supposed to, as she did, put her on top, put Liv on top of her so Liv could have gotten the win. But because of that botched ring bell, she had to, call it a disqualification for Rhea.
yeah.
So that was the botch there. But decent match. I'm happy to see Raquel back. It was fun. It's good to see. It just adds a bit more in there now. So
I mean, that was a lot. Surprised. There's not many surprises with these new bookers, but Raquel coming back is we'll forget about it in a week. It wasn't very impactful.
well, some are, some aren't, right? But I mean, she's back. Let's see how she does. It's good to see
Mm-hmm.
her back. She's actually viable in terms of challenging Rhea Ripley, just the size and everything. So you have a good matchup there. I like that. Okay, Finn Balor, Finn Balor and Damian Priest. I keep calling him Drew McIntyre, man. I keep messing that up. Damian Priest. You know what? I'll be honest, it was an okay match. A lot of interference and everything, but it could have been a Raw match, in my opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree. And we all knew Damon. I called it. Damon was going to win. We all knew that. Then my problem is not every match can be a great match like the Punk McIntyre match. But if we're gonna have an average match, we'll call it a filler match. Let Finn win. Let's have a surprise. And we kind of look past the match wasn't that great, but Finn won. We'd be talking now. We're like, I wasn't that great. Damien won. Move on.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I don't know.
again, look, it all really comes down to storylines. Like I know you say it's predictable, this and this, but every soap
Too
opera is
predictable.
predictable, right? Everything is predictable these days. It's that you can't get away from predictability. I mean, the only people who wouldn't have any clue of this would be a casual fan just tuning in, not knowing what they're seeing per se, right? Having a general knowledge of the characters. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just a storyline, and every story has to have an happy ending. And if you look at
Hmm.
the arc of their story, hypothetically, you know what I mean? It's being built up to this kind of like, okay, he keeps getting done in, he keeps getting duped, he keeps getting attacked from behind. So it's that redemption. I mean, it is what
It's
it is.
called I call it safe booking. All these matches are the outcomes are predictable. It's very safe. They're not taking any chances. They're coasting. And
Well, but I mean, maybe they are, but again, at the same time, it's the same formula that's been played out for decades in wrestling, right? I
yeah,
mean,
but before it was unpredictable. You don't know what was going to happen, who's showing up, who's going to do who's turning on who. Now it's like we I got every match right, but one match. It shouldn't be that easy. There should be a couple things where
no,
I was dead
I
wrong
don't
on.
think it should be that easy, but at the same time, look at what we do,
No, I know, I get it, I get it. There's
right?
part of that too, but
Yeah,
it's like give us something.
yeah. I get you. I get you. All right. Nia Jax, Bailey. I mean, again, Nia won, which was the right
Which
call.
is the
She was
right thing to do,
dominant. She was
absolutely. Yeah,
dominant in everything. But I mean, that Tiffany Stratton, she's kind of I almost thought it was gonna happen that night. Like I really felt that this was
yeah.
that moment. And it's gonna happen. I think it's gonna
It's
happen in
gonna
the next it's gonna happen very soon, right? Like I mean, I almost have a feeling you might not see Nia against Liv. It might be Tiffany against Liv in Saudi Arabia, the way they're playing it. And they're moving it pretty fast as well, right? Like, I mean, Naya's being the dominant heel bully, which is amazing, which is
which
the
is
right
good.
move,
Yeah, they're doing
right?
that.
All everything she's doing is great. But just constant abuse that Tiffany's taking. So it's kind of interesting because she's still such a heel, Tiffany Stratton. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like how much more is she gonna take before it's kind of over? But yeah, she almost cashed in, cost Bailey the match, and we're kind of back to where we are there. So let's see what the direction is here now. Are they gonna push her and Liv, or is it gonna be more of Tiffany and Naya going forward leading up into Crown Jewel? All right, main event time: Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes versus the Bloodline. Um, I think the first 10 minutes was just the intros, everyone
yeah.
coming out. That was a long time, but
Too
even
long.
the match itself took a long time to pick up any kind of momentum and speed. You know what I mean? I get
Mm-hmm.
it. Less is more, and I understand the psychology that they're trying to portray there, but that less is more with the crowd, looking at the crowd, getting them all worked up, and the crowd definitely was into it, right? I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
I
yeah, they
think the
were.
only shitty part about it, and I have no disrespect, I love marching bands. I don't know if you watched it properly, but man, that marching band was okay, but I don't think that doing Cody's song is the right song for a marching band. It just didn't come out right. It
Didn't
sounded
fit well.
it didn't sound good. That's all I'm gonna say. No disrespect to their talent, I'm sure it is, but man, some of those notes, it just doesn't sound good in a brass section. That's all
No,
I'm
I
saying.
totally agree with you. And the entrances are too long. That was too long. 10 whatever minutes it was. Everybody come out. It's too much.
Yeah, yeah. And I get it. Roman's gonna do
Especially after already 3 hours in the bag of a pay per view, right?
no 100%. But like I said, overall the show moved really well. Like I didn't have a problem. I
Mm,
wasn't tired. I mean, I wasn't feeling fatigued or anything. Because I mean, if you think about it, Saturday, this one of those Saturdays where we had boxing in the morning that led right into the pay-per-view, which led right into UFC. So, I mean,
yeah,
if you had the ability, if you had the means to do it, you could have been in front of your television from 12 o'clock till about 10 o'clock at night.
easily. If you want to watch
Easily,
all those, yeah.
right? And some of us, I know some people who kind of did that. So,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a fun day. It makes for a fun day if you can get away with it, right?
Yes,
I would choose my family and everything over all this if I could, but I mean, when the opportunity is there, you got to take it. So
absolutely. Yeah.
but the match itself, I thought moved really, really slow. I thought, the formula was right. Of course, Jacob and Solo are gonna, run most of the match. It's gonna be heat, 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 and you get your moments there where they try to break it, and that was the case. But everything with the bloodline, with Cody, doesn't seem to pick up until the last 15 minutes of the match. And same here as again, same kind of principle, same kind of format here. So everything's even keel, two against two, everything's beautiful. those two, Cody and Roman, start getting the advantage here. And guess who comes out? The other half of the bloodline. They come out. They aren't doing anything, but then some dude just shows up dressed in black with a hoodie and a bandana. And of course, we know it's Jimmy.
Yeah,
But it's good to see Jimmy back because Jimmy has not been back since Monday Night Raw after Mania.
yeah.
This is his first appearance, right? So
It's a good way to bring him back. If you're going to bring him back, bring him out in the main event, right?
well, you bring him back, right? Like, I mean, I thought Hilliku would have come out. I thought someone else might have come out. I almost thought that Paul was going to come out at some point with Roman.
No, I'm glad they're giving Paul a break. He needed a break. He's getting his stick was getting a little tiresome. So let him rest and come back, but it'll be fresh.
We'll probably see him at War Games. I think, with the full contingency that comes out there. But yeah, so Jimmy comes out and confuses the other two guys, knocks them down with super kicks. The boys get the win as you predicted, which was probably the right call after watching the
That was
match.
the right call. Yeah.
Just the way they're making the story work.
Roman's coming back. You got to give him a win. Keep him hot. Keep him right back up there.
Well, yeah, and then which they did, and everything is everything, and then the Bloodlight comes in after the match, attacks Cody, and now we know for sure that Roman and Jimmy are more on the fan side of things, the face side. Roman hesitated, but Jimmy convinced him to come back, and this was the moment that I thought was most interesting. After all that, Roman picks up the belt, gives it to Cody, sort of a deal. Rock's music hits. Final boss is back in town. Probably to me not as oh my god, jump out of my seat excitement because now it's not common, but
we've seen it already. Yeah,
we've seen it now. Like it's different when he comes back after a couple of years. Now he's back after 6 months, but I mean there's a lot here. So
well, he's going to be on the Netflix on Raw, so they got to bring him back, get you ready, kick it off. That's why he's back.
That's it, right? So I mean it was good, it was decent, and he looks great as the final boss. I have no problem with it. He didn't look happy with what he saw in the ring. So it makes me wonder who is the boss? Is it Roman or is it The Rock? This is the story that I want to hear about, right? So seeds are being planted, my friend. We're gonna probably get Roman.
The only thing now, if they do Rock and Roman at Mania, it's kind of lost a little bit of that sizzle. They had it last year. The crowd chanted and they went on Twitter and saying, "No, we want Cody." But now, if we do Rock and Roman, it's still good, but it kind of lost a bit of that feel because we could have had it. So they kind of shot themselves in the foot.
We could have lost a bit of the sizzle, but I think we can regain that sizzle if they do it right, and if they do it the way they've been doing it. I think that match will have some, it'll feel good by the time we're there at Mania, right? And
if there's a belt on the line, maybe if there's no belt on the line, it'll lose that thunder.
Well, let's see. I mean, I just think it's still going to be a fun match, and I think what we're going to be there, and I know for a fact that we're going to be there for this. So I just think being there is going to make it fun as well. So we'll see how it all plays out. But like I said, we got 5 months, 6 months now before any of this is actually going to come to fruition. We have we got Crown Jewel, which I don't think is going to be much of anything. But then I think things start to pick up a bad blood here in Vancouver, which is going to be crazy. I think
Survivor Series.
So sorry, Survivor Series. I think Rock will be here for that. I think Paul Heyman will be here for that because that's kind of the point that sets everything off because he got no.
I don't think Heyman's coming back yet. They don't need Heyman right now. I think he waits to Netflix. We'll see, but I think Heyman needs a rest.
If they do War Games, it's only fitting he comes back at that time.
And if I'm one of the guys backstage, the first thing I say to Paul Heyman, "How is your health?"
Yeah,
you need to do something about your health because he looks something's not right there.
Well, I think a lot of that built that character on him. I know what you're saying, but a lot of it was makeup and stuff just to make him look haggard.
Just the body, the chin, the body, the way he walks. Like I know he's an older guy, he's 60s, but something's not right. You need to take care of your health, Paul.
So overall, like I said, I'll give the show a 7 out of 10. Like I said, I enjoyed it. I think the Punk and Drew McIntyre really gave it
by far the best match of the night. None of the matches even came close.
Yeah, and I think everything else is everything there. Well, we didn't talk about Gunther and Goldberg's interaction. I thought that was really fun.
Again, one of the best part, one of the best segment of the night.
Gunther to me is the best heel going in that company right now. You can't no one can touch him. The comments he made to Goldberg, he said the things that he said about Goldberg to Bret Hart, I was just those were lies, right? Part of a deal, getting the area of that, Goldberg. So I guess it might be setting up one more match for Goldberg here.
It looks great. He's in better shape than 95% of the roster. So he gets a lot of people. Oh, he's a crappy wrestler. Oh, he's a crappy wrestler. Lance Storm is a better wrestler than Goldberg in the ring. Nobody bought a ticket to watch Lance Storm. Everybody bought a ticket to watch Goldberg. In 98, 97, 98, 99, Goldberg was must-see TV. He'd come
No,
out there, and none of these other guys that trash him were must-see TV. So they can say what they want. Is Goldberg going to do a five-star match? No, but he's going to run. He's going to hit you. He's going to get the crowd jacked up. And the casual fan loves Bill Goldberg because he's a real, legit former NFL player, former athlete. And Deion Sanders said, when we were in the huddle, there's only one guy wanted watching my back. That's Big Bill. When we go to the bars after, there's only one guy you want behind you. That's Big Bill.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm glad to see it. I'm glad he's back. I hope he has a match, and I'm a fan of him. And so it was a good segment. How pissed off is Bret Hart seeing Goldberg and Triple H, and they're the two guys he hates the most and trashes the most, and here they are standing in the ring. He must have been just cringing in his seat.
I'm gonna say this, and I say this with all humility and respect to Bret Hart. I mean, he's the reason. He's one half of the reason I became a wrestling fan. When I didn't know what wrestling was, I didn't even know it existed. It was him and Bad News Allen that came on my TV, and I haven't turned back since. You know what I mean? And seeing how Bret is now and how bitter he is, even to this day, like I first I could say, yeah, he's got a point. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I understand it. But he's so repetitive. He's just on.
People, nobody says this, but I'll just say, you know why Bret's so bitter?
Mhm.
Yes, Goldberg gave concussion, right? But a lot of people bounce back after concussion, dude. How many guys have concussions and bounce back? Then you were riding your bike, you hit your head, you got a stroke because you said your brain was susceptible to concussions because Bill gave you the concussion. How many concussions did you have before Bill? You must have had 20 or 30 in your whole career. It wasn't just Bill that ended your career. Here's the thing. You know what he's most bitter about? All the money that he lost out on.
Well,
Wrestling is all about money. That's what he's bitter about.
and he's bitter
Money.
about it. But I mean, the reality of it is, like, look, I mean, and I got into an argument with some people here, in over this as well. Okay, they're talking about the Wendy Richter screw job, like how she got done in.
Mhm.
But here's what I say to people, and I understand this more and more as I've gotten older about the business. Right, business is business. Friendship is friendship. I mean, if you're not going to do business, you're going to force the hand of the company to do the right thing for the business, right? Look at the business we're in outside of this. Okay.
Mhm.
We do things accordingly. We may not agree with what we have to do or how
Mhm.
we have to act or how we have to interact, but we know it's the right thing to do for what we have to do long term.
Yeah.
If Wendy wasn't willing to do business, I said to these people, then she didn't deserve to have the title. If she wasn't going to do it the right way, like Bret wasn't willing to do it the right way to drop the title the way he was supposed to. Everyone else has done it in the past.
Yeah.
You look at Bob Backlund. Bob Backlund was put Iron Sheik, Iron Sheik, Bob Backlund. Iron Sheik knew he was a transitional champion.
Mhm.
The only reason he was there was to take the belt off of Backlund to elevate Hulk Hogan. Right? And that was what was right for business at the time. Bret Hart was leaving. Everything that's happened up until that point, how can you blame Vince for not wanting to do proper business? Yeah, he's like a son to you, but what if he walks away with your belt?
Yeah.
It's a business, right? Same with Wendy Richter. So ultimately, at the end of the day, that's the problem with Bret. It's like he can't draw that line anymore. It's a blur. He lives the gimmick, and it's becoming to the point now where you watch these interviews with him. Like, I want to interview Bret, but I'm afraid to because I don't want all that negative stuff. Like, what do you ask him?
Well, he talks about his matches highly, but yeah, he repeats himself a lot. But the number one reason he's bitter is because he lost out on millions and millions and millions of
Get
dollars.
that, but he's
He could have
not.
came back in a different role, and he didn't want to do
Well,
it,
he
so then
could
he lose the
have,
money.
like, it's just stubbornness on his part too. He could have come back. He could have done different things, right? But it's that stubbornness that he
And
has.
the reason, and here's another thing: the reason Goldberg's back is not because of Triple H and Khan. They don't like that kind of wrestler. Triple H and Bill Goldberg, they had real heat. They're not buddies. I'm sure they patch it up now. The only reason Goldberg's coming back is the one reason: the
Saudi.
Saudis love the guy. They love big, strong, athletic men. They probably said, "Hey, we want Bill back," and then Ari probably said, "Yeah, you can have him."
Now, this is going to sound controversial, but this is kind of interesting.
And I love him for it. I'd do the
Isn't it
same thing.
interesting that Saudi Arabia, the home of Mecca,
Mm-hmm.
the Muslim, epicenter, favorite wrestler is a Jewish guy. Go figure.
I know. I don't know if they realize he's Jewish.
They must, man. There's something I always chuckle. I get such a rise and I get a good chuckle out of it when I hear the Saudi crowd chanting Goldberg.
They love Goldberg there. He's a star everywhere. Goldberg's a big star. I don't care what anybody says about the
But
guy.
see, this just proves my point that sport, wrestling, sport in general, it it takes away every denomination of society. It takes away everyone's religious affiliations and views, and everyone becomes a collective.
Well, I'll tell you right now, we're not going to see Gunther versus Cody at Crown Jewel. We're seeing Gunther versus Goldberg.
Well, I don't know, dude. I mean, if Gunther is the champion,
When's Crown Jewel?
it's November 2nd.
Hmm.
I think it's going to be. I think that match is going to happen probably later down the road. You could have that match for Survivor Series. You could have
No,
that.
they want Goldberg in Saudi Arabia, dude.
No, he'll probably show up. He might cause the interference or something, right?
Maybe, yeah.
Right, but I don't see him having a match because if they've already put that title there, I mean, what are you saying? In the next 3 weeks that Gunther loses to Goldberg?
No,
Right?
he's going to beat him. No,
No,
Gunther
no,
will
no,
beat him.
no, no. But I'm saying, but there's no way they could probably match up there. That's what I'm saying, right? Like something has to give where Goldberg has to be in that. He'd have to be a champion to compete in that
And,
match.
and the IWC is going to lose their minds having Gold. They hate Goldberg, hate
Uh,
everything he stands for. They want to see Pete Dunne and Dragunov, right? Those guys don't sell tickets, so
well,
Goldberg
not right
does.
now. But like I said, man, we're kind of
Goldberg is one of the biggest stars ever in wrestling, hands down. Look at the ratings, look at the tickets. It says it all.
fair enough, fair enough, fair enough, man. I can't argue with that. All right, hey, so in about 2014, 2015, these two guys, right? Virtually kind of, they're well unknown, but unknown in the major markets, Will Ospreay and a guy called Ricochet. They had
Mm-hmm.
this killer match in Japan and everyone raved about it and loved it and loved it. Now, Ospreay ended up going to AEW eventually, and we had Ricochet go over to the WWE, and they finally reconnected in AEW. Share your thoughts on that match that you saw on Wednesday night, brother. You got
I watched
something
it
to
the first
say.
time, and I thought, yeah, this is pretty good. They're athletic. Then I watched it again a little more thoroughly. I thought to myself, a lot of the match to me is not even pro wrestling. It's like they're dancing.
And that's
It's becoming. I
what
get it. They're super athletic. I get with it, but like, come on. There's no psychology at all. Nobody's selling.
yeah. And that's the match that they had that everyone was raving about. That's why I brought that one up
Yeah,
because everyone talked about how great that match was. But veteran guys, this and that, no psychology, no storyline. Yeah,
yeah.
the moves look great.
No feel for the crowd.
No,
You know,
you know what? You could have put makeup on these guys, and you could have thought
well,
you were.
who was the heel in the face in this match we just watched? I couldn't tell who was who.
I think right now you'll probably see Ricochet become more of the heel as we
But
go
in that
through.
last match, well, who would you say was heel or face? That you don't even know. They're both the same, right?
Well, yeah, at that point it was like a
This
face.
is what I mean. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
they're like dancing and they're half the time. I don't know. They're athletic as heck. Don't get me wrong. Will Ospreay is an amazing athlete. Maybe the most athletically gifted guy in wrestling. However, he's not great on the mic. He doesn't have much of a character and he doesn't sell that well. But as far as in ring ability, yeah, he's great. But to me, that was like watching two guys dancing
Well, I
at a
guess
club.
I look at guys like Will Ospreay, Kenny Omega, who have all the potential in the world. Um, I don't know who gets in the years and tells them what's what, but I mean, these biggest mistake those two guys made was not coming over to the WWE.
Because they
And
want to do what they want. They want to
well, well,
have an
well,
indie style, right?
but this is where these guys have to open their eyes and their ears and understand. Look at MJF. Okay, as big as he is, he'll
He's not
never
that big,
again as
but
big as he is
mm-hmm.
till he crosses over to the other side. He'll never get any bigger than he is right now.
Well, let's break it down this way. If MJF and Goldberg walk to the Vancouver International Airport right now, I guarantee you barely anybody recognizes MJF, and everybody in the airport will know Goldberg.
And that's to my point. You come to the
Yeah.
WWE, you'll get noticed, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like even a guy, and I know you're not a fan of them per se, this and that, but wherever Sammy goes, wherever Kevin Owens goes, because of the time they spend in WWE, they will still garner more attention in the airport than MJF.
Oh, for sure they would. Yeah.
Right. So it's just not just a Goldberg thing. It's that company rub. It's being a part of that. But yeah, so AEW is doing the thing, man. What more can you say? Jacksonville won, so that's one less week that Tony has to, feel any heat from his dad over
Yeah.
all of it. They signed a new deal with Warner Brothers as
Yeah.
well.
I've seen that.
So they got a multi-year deal in place now with Warner Brothers.
I'm happy with them. I want them to do well, but
Yeah.
they're just so stuck in indie mindset. They got to come out of that. You want to go to the big leagues, you got to go.
I
You
think
got to start thinking differently.
I think one thing they should have done, in my opinion, if they were going to escape that kind of thing, I think going to the USA Network or going to Peacock would have better served them, because those companies, because they work with WWE in the past, have expectations for what they expect on the show, right?
Mhm.
With Warner Brothers, they're just going to let them continue on, because at the end of the day, look, here's TBS's programming on a weekly basis, okay? And yes, all times are Eastern, but if I turn on TBS at 9 a.m., from 9 a.m. to like 2 p.m., it's Friends over and over and over and over
Yeah,
again. From Friends, it goes into Big Bang Theory for the next 3-4 hours, right? And then whatever their TBS shows that they have for their own station. Apart from the baseball games, this and that, outside of the baseball playoffs that they have, yearly that they show,
yeah.
their wrestling program, as crap as most of it is, AEW, is still their highest rated programming on that station. So they're not going to say nothing about it. They're not going to question anything, whereas USA would question them. And that's what they probably need, is a network and someone behind them that's saying, hey, we need to see more of this. We need to see more of that to get that going. But hey, who knows, right?
I always say that AW has the best commentating, right? And then now I'm getting a little tired of Excalibur. I don't like that 3-man booth.
Dude,
They
I'm
kind of
telling
getting
you,
done with that guy. I think he'd be fine with Shivani and Taz.
uh,
Now, Joe Tessitore just has
he's
that
the king.
voice, right? So I
Dude,
mean,
he's the king. I mean, his nicknames are awesome. Last night, Jackie Redmond, back to you, Test Man, right?
yeah, he
and,
just
and
has that voice.
But Joe Tessitore, here's what I love about him. What I find so amazing about Joe Tessitore in this role, I already knew who he was as a boxing guy, right?
Mm-hmm. And he does
There's
a lot of
no
college football.
and a lot of college football, right? But I mean, for me, it's more boxing. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
I haven't listened to him too much on the college side of things, so I can't really comment on it. But for him to come in when he did, and the knowledge that he has, and the way he like, you feel like he's been there for years.
Joe's the kind of this couple announcers, the guys like Joe Tessitore, this Pat Summerall, Vin Scully. They can call any sport
No,
because
no,
they
no.
study before the show,
Yeah, yeah,
and they just have that voice, and they can
right.
just
But
whatever
he
they see, they just tell it. They make it sound so much better than what you're watching, and that's
the,
what you want from a commentator.
the man is seamless.
Bob
That's
Cole.
that's yeah. Well, the man is early Bob Cole, mid Bob Cole, yeah, not late Bob Cole. I'm no disrespect to Bobby, but Joe is just kind of like, he just knows. You know what I mean? Like he can pick up references from 2-3 years ago when he was nothing to do with the company. So
He won't be around for long. He's one of those guys who'll come for a year or two. He'll take off because he's too busy. But for now, enjoy it.
yeah, yeah, no, and you know what? He's doing great. I love it, and
Yeah, he is.
and he's him and Wade Barrett are great together.
Not
They
bad.
work really well together. I'm really enjoying that
But
team.
now Tony Schiavone, he's got a little competition now, right? So we'll see.
Yeah,
Like
no,
Tony knows more about wrestling because he just lives it, right? He's a super fan.
yeah.
But I think Joe has that better voice.
The voice makes all the difference in the world, right?
That's
I
what
mean,
it
at
is.
the end of the day, it's a presentation, it's the delivery.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it comes down to at the end of it. Like, I mean, your topics can be whatever you want it to be, but if you can't speak and if you can't engage people, then it's not worth it.
Yeah.
So
If you think about announcing sports, even wrestling, boxing, one of the hardest things in the world to do because there's only about maybe 10 iconic commentators. The rest were good. There's only 10 guys that you can name, Bob Cole, Pat Summerall, Vince Scully, these kind of guys. There's very few and far between, Howard Cosell. So if George Tessitore keeps on this trajectory, he might not be quite on their level, but he's going to be right on their doorstep.
no, he'll be on the doorstep, and yeah, you're right. Like, there's some
He's still
sports
young. He's only in his
like
50s.
I'd say baseball, especially like in soccer, football, for example. Sometimes you get just that one man booth,
Mm-hmm.
one guy calling the whole thing.
And Scully.
Scully did that, right? I mean, in baseball, that's very common a lot of the times where it's just a one man booth in there, right? And that's a hard one to do, especially with baseball, because the actual gameplay is
Well,
so
that's what
hard
made
to
Scully so good
repeat.
because he would just tell you stories. You have to really study that because you got
Exactly.
to tell a story about this guy's where he grew up,
Absolutely.
what he did in his spare
And
time.
same with soccer. You get that a lot in the English commentary where you just have that one guy doing the whole match. And
It's a
yeah,
little bit easier to commentate soccer because there's no dead space; it's more free, more flowing. Baseball is so much time in between.
no, I
That's where
get
you
that. But
get
but
caught
but
off guard.
I only bring up soccer in here because yeah, it's more flowing, but a lot of it's in the midfield, right? Like, how often is he gonna keep calling, you know, uh Ronaldo
Yeah,
to Aguilar? I go to Ronaldo. I mean, a lot of it's just like, passing, waiting for that opening to get into the box. But I
Yep.
mean, you know, anyways, we can go on forever on this kind of things. But yeah, man, I tell you what, let's wrap it up here. I think we've had a brilliant show. Everything is good, guys. If you've made it this far, you got to subscribe. You got it. I mean, if you've listened this long, right? Am I right or wrong, Chance?
100% right.
Right? You
100%.
made it this far in the show. Subscribe, please. It means the world to us. All
Yeah.
right, guys and gals, we are now on the road to Crown Jewel, so we'll keep going on with that. We'll see what's going on in the world of AEW. Other than that, Mr. Michaels, I think we kind of put wrestling in a
Yep.
nutshell, it up, put a bow on it, and put it under the Christmas tree.
Sure, I'll put you on the spot. What's the best wrestling podcast besides ours for people to listen to that you'd recommend?
I want to go two here. Okay,
Yeah, me too.
I'm gonna give you two. I'm gonna give you Eric Bischoff's 83 weeks.
He's good.
It's insightful. It's he's fair, and he'll call shit on both sides of the fence, right?
Yeah, he's good.
He's not a homer,
No.
but he'll call it on both sides. If it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. And I appreciate that. The other one would have to be something to wrestle with Bruce Pritchard, because he gives a lot of insights to the stuff that I watched as a youth, as a kid.
Mhm.
Some of the things that we didn't know. So, it's always good to hear those kind of stories. And, Pritchard is a historian. He's been there for probably 90% of everything that's ever happened in
Yeah, it
wrestling,
is.
like physically there, right?
Yep.
Being there itself. So those are probably my two best wrestling podcasts per se. You?
Yeah. I mean, I like Pritchard. I like Bishop. I don't really listen to them, but they're both great. They
Yeah.
call it this. Pritchard's a little more WWE biased. Of course, he's one of Vince's best friends. The only wrestling podcast I listen to, besides listening to our show and critiquing what we said,
So,
is Vince Russo.
yeah.
Other than that, it's sports talk radio for me. And I don't want to listen to too many different wrestling podcasts and skew what I'm thinking. But
Yeah.
Bischoff's, Tony Schiavone's What Happened When is good too.
Hey, I have a question for you then. Let me ask
That's a
you.
good one too.
I don't listen to Vince per se that much. I do in clips. But apparently he was talking about Stephanie McMahon secretly working behind the scenes still. Have you heard that yet?
Yeah, I'm sure I think that's pretty obvious. I mean, she showed up on WrestleMania, took a cheap shot at her dad. Her husband's booking the show, so I wouldn't doubt it. She's back there for sure. 100% agree. We don't know, but it makes sense.
Okay. I thought maybe you had heard that clip.
Yeah, I heard that one. Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys. Hey, you know what? Do you have a chance this corner?
I do, yeah.
All right, you know what, guys, gals? I almost forgot. We have time. Mr. Chance Michaels, it's Chance's Corner. What do you got, brother?
I'm going to keep this one short and sweet. I'm so happy that Monday Night Raw is at 2 hours now. It makes for a much better Monday night. The show is better. It's more tight. It's more crisp. Hopefully, I'll cut through another one. I fucked up on the words there.
Okay. We'll start again. All right, guys and gals, it's time.
Hold on. Give me 1 second.
We're fucking bad, eh? What time is it? It's 10:30 in the morning and we're both drinking pop.
Same thing as a coffee, man.
Same here. Mind you, I've been up since 6 o'clock, so.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? Let's do the boxing show. Take a 2-minute break, do the boxing, look at my Chance Corner after my kids calling me down the hall there.
Okay. So let's wrap this up then, okay?
Yeah, wrap it up. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I'll tell you what, we've done everything we can talk about. All right, guys, we've talked about everything I think we can talk about right now. There's nothing really going on in the world of wrestling that we haven't covered. So, guys, my name is Bobby Sampson. He's Mr. Chance Michaels.
In the words of the great AC/DC, those that like and download and subscribe to the podcast, we salute you.
We do salute you. And ladies and gentlemen, I am living proof of this. Do not let things that are happening in life bring you down or break you. Because if those things break you, then you're just broken. Learn to live with what's happening in front of you. Deal with it. Fix it. Make it better. It's never going to be easy. It's sometimes going to be hard. The words I say to you sound easy, but they are challenging.
Yeah.
Never give up. Keep fighting hard for what you believe in, and things will happen in life on a constant, but that doesn't mean you stop fighting. Samp and Chance are out.